Hey, this is Kevin with MCrider. This week on MCrider, let's talk about a motorcycle helmet, because a helmet can be the most important decision you make in your safety in riding on a motorcycle. In fact, a rider who wears a helmet is 37% less likely to die on a motorcycle and 67% less likely to have a brain injury. So this week, let's look at 4 important questions when it comes to motorcycle helmets. Does the type of helmet matter, like a full face or a shell helmet? Does a more expensive helmet mean that it's going to protect you better? How do you get the right fit in the helmet that you choose? And does a helmet last forever? So this week we'll look at those 4 important questions, and we'll discover some things that I learned along the way as well. First, let's answer that question, does the type of helmet that you wear matter? So does a brain bucket or a shell helmet protect you as well as a full face helmet? And I think we probably already all know the answer to that, but here's an interesting diagram that you may have seen in the past, but let's take a look at it here on MCrider. So let's look at this diagram. We'll start at the top, that 0.4%, then you've got 3.5, 3.4, 18.3, and 12.6. That's the extent of your protection in wearing a shell helmet. In fact, I would say it's probably a little bit less than that, because a shell or a brain bucket is not going to stay attached as firmly to your head. So there's a lot more likelihood of you losing that helmet in an accident as opposed to a full face helmet. So all of those other regions down there are left exposed if you're wearing a shell helmet. And that biggest region, that 34.6, is only protected if you're wearing a full face helmet. So I think we probably all knew the answer to this, that a full face helmet is going to offer you the best level of protection, because it's the only one that's going to offer chin and face protection as well. Now, I've got a shell helmet, and I use it whenever I'm teaching a new rider class, because I'm on and off the bikes and I've got to communicate with students as I'm doing that. But any other time I'm riding on a motorcycle, I've got a full face helmet on. And so let's think about that for a little bit. If I'm wearing a shell helmet, I'm protected from here up, basically. All of this other area is exposed. And let's use me as an example here. I got one eye that's messed up. My nose points over to the left a little bit. I got some teeth that are kind of crooked. I don't have a whole lot to work with to begin with. So I've got to protect what I've got left. And the only way that I can protect that is by wearing a full face helmet. If you think about it for a minute, you're moving forward on a motorcycle. In an impact, you're most likely going to continue moving forward in that impact. So one of the most likely places that's going to impact the road is your chin and face. And that can have a significant impact on your injuries and your ability to come out of an accident unscathed. My accident that I had a few years ago, I had a gash mark in the side of the helmet. I had slide marks all the way down the side of the full face helmet that I was wearing. Had I been wearing a shell helmet, that would have been a totally different accident, and I would probably look a little bit different sitting here talking to you today. So if we're going to rate helmets from least protective to most protective, it would be a shell helmet, an open face helmet, then a modular helmet, and then a full face helmet is going to offer you the most protection. I know the modular helmets are really popular right now, and they do offer a good level of protection, but what makes them less protective than a full face helmet is the hinge design, because it's designed to open up in the front. It looks like a full face helmet when you're wearing it, but it is designed with a hinge in it to open up. That hinge creates a weak spot, and plus they have been shown to come open on occasion in accident, so it's going to offer you a little bit less protection than you would find in a full face helmet. The next question we want to look at is, does a more expensive helmet offer you better protection? And my answer to that, I guess, is yes and no. I've never truly owned a cheap helmet, you know, the kind you get at the motorcycle show that's got the handwritten DOT sticker on the back of it. I've never owned one of those, so I don't have anything there to compare it by, but I have seen videos of some testing on some of these really cheap helmets, and they're purely cosmetic, the helmet is. It really offers no real level of protection. But on the same standard, I've also ridden with some fairly expensive helmets, and the one that I ride with now, the HJC IS17, is about half the price of some of those more expensive helmets that I've ridden with. And if you go over to the Sharp website and look at their standardized testing for these helmets, this less expensive helmet that I'm wearing right now actually has much better crash ratings than the Arai or the Shoeis that I've worn in the past. And that doesn't necessarily mean, though, that HJC is a better helmet than the Arai or Shoei, because testing is a complicated thing. Different tests determine different strengths or weaknesses of a particular helmet, and the Sharp testing tends to favor the HJC helmet in this instance. But to be honest, there are some fit and finish kind of things with the HJC that are not as premium or not as comfortable to wear as the Shoei or the Arai, and in particular the Shoei. If money was no object, that would probably be my helmet of choice every time out. It's a very comfortable helmet. I like the fit and finish on it, and it's not something that I mind putting on my head every day. But the HJC's been a great helmet as well, and coming in at half the price of the Shoei and less than that on the Arai, it was a very good alternative. And to boot, it offers me a little bit better crash ratings using the Sharp standard. So what does that tell you about helmets? It means that price does not always equate to quality or to its ability to withstand a crash. There's a lot of standards out there. There's DOT, there's ECE, there's Snell, there's Sharp. Each standard has a little bit different standard that they're testing towards, and one helmet may perform a little bit better on one standard or a little bit worse on another. So here's something I learned along the way in putting this video together for you guys. You buy a helmet here in the US with a DOT sticker on the back of it, and you expect that helmet to have been tested up to DOT standards. But really what that DOT is they set a standard for helmet manufacturers to meet, but that doesn't mean that that helmet has ever actually been tested. It's kind of on the honor system for helmet manufacturers to say that, yes, my helmet meets these standards, so I'm going to put the DOT sticker on it, but that helmet is not actually tested by the Department of Transportation on every occasion. They will go in occasionally and spot check helmets, but that doesn't mean that helmet on your head meets DOT standards. The ECE, the Snell, and the Sharp standards, the helmets are actually tested. So consider that next time you're out purchasing a helmet. That DOT doesn't necessarily mean that helmet's going to meet the DOT standard. So with all the debate on which standardized testing is best and which one is more relevant to protect you in a crash, how do you ever determine which helmet is the correct one to buy? Well, I'm a common sense kind of guy, so I use common sense on this. I find a name brand motorcycle helmet. I'm not looking for something really cheap because at a certain price point, you're getting what you pay for. So I look for a name brand helmet, and I look for one at a price that I can afford. Not something that I want to go out and spend $800 on a helmet if I don't have to. So I'm looking for something that I can afford. But most importantly, I'm looking for a helmet that fits me right. And not every helmet is going to fit me right. So let's talk about that next. How do you find a helmet, and how do you know which helmet fits you correctly? I am very fortunate living here in DFW because I've got access to one of the best motorcycle gear shops in all the country. Over in Dallas, there's a shop, Moto Liberty. And if you live in DFW, look them up. They're near the corner of 635 and 35 in Dallas. That is a fantastic shop. They've got quality products, they've got good products, but most importantly, they've got a staff that has been employed there since the time I've been shopping there. They've got people who know what they're talking about, people that can help you find the correct helmet for you, one that fits you correctly, and you'll walk out of there knowing that you've got quality gear. I realize many of you guys don't have access to a shop like Moto Liberty, so in order to find gear or a big selection of gear, you have to go online. And that's why I want to recommend to you Revzilla. Now, I'm an affiliate of Revzilla, but I don't recommend Revzilla because I'm an affiliate. I'm an affiliate of Revzilla because I can recommend them. It's a good shop, and they have tons of reviews, video reviews, and very detailed descriptions to help make your shopping experience better and to help get you in the right gear. And the key to finding a helmet that fits you correctly is to find one that fits the shape of your head. Something that a lot of people don't realize is we all have different shaped heads. Some people's heads are rounders, some people are more oval, some people are more intermediate oval. And helmet manufacturers are designed to fit different shapes of heads. And that's one of the things where Revzilla really comes through well, is because every helmet that you look at on their site will have a diagram that shows you what shape of head this helmet fits. So on the Revzilla site, they've got an article written, Helmet Fitting 101. I'll have a link to that in the description, as well as a pop-up here on screen. You can go to that article and find out what shaped helmet is going to fit your head the best. Once you know that, then you can narrow your search down depending on what shape of helmet or internal shape of helmet is going to fit you the best. So once you've got the internal shape down, for me it's an intermediate oval is what fits me the best, then I can narrow my search down by helmets that only fit an intermediate oval shaped head. And then I just need to do measurements to know which size helmet is going to fit me the best. And then I can start narrowing it down by brands, price, colors, features, those kind of things. But when it comes to looking for a helmet, I'm looking for a name brand. I'm looking for fit, because it's got to fit right. If it doesn't fit right, you're not getting the full level of protection that you can. Then I'm looking for certain features from a helmet. Because I ride here in Dallas, Fort Worth, I want something that's going to flow a lot of air, that's going to be fairly cool for me. Because I got this eye that kind of stays dilated, I want something probably with an internal drop-down visor, and if possible, self-tinting visor like I've got on my HJC IS17. So I can really get that dark when I'm out riding in the sunlight. Combination of the self-tinting visor and that drop-down visor makes it really dark. And then beyond that, I'm looking for a price that I can live with. And that's one of the good things about Revzilla. They offer really good pricing online. They offer quick shipping, free shipping over $35. And they've got a very good exchange and return policy. If you've got anything you need to return, they've been very good with me in the past about making sure I get the right gear. So the last question is, does a helmet last forever? And the simple answer to that is no. A helmet's a perishable item. Helmet's got an impact absorbing liner, which is similar to a styrofoam you'd find in an igloo cooler. And that styrofoam breaks down over time. So even if that helmet's just sitting on the shelf, it's going to break down over time. Add to that, if you're in a hot environment like I am, you sweat a lot inside the helmet, that sweat's going to cause the helmet to break down even quicker. So kind of the general rule of thumb is about 5 years on a helmet. After that 5-year period, that impact absorbing liner begins to break down, and it's time to start thinking about and shopping for a new helmet. Another thing to consider is if the helmet has an impact while you're wearing it. So I'm not talking about your helmet just rolling off the seat of your motorcycle and hitting the parking lot. If you've got the weight of your head inside it and it has an impact with the ground, it's probably time to start looking for a new helmet. Because that impact absorbing liner that I talked about, that styrofoam, when you have an impact with the ground, it does its job and it compresses. The problem though is it doesn't decompress. So if you've got the weight of your head inside the helmet, it has an impact, it compresses, but now it's created a weak spot inside the helmet that you can't necessarily see from the outside of the helmet. So the general rule of thumb is you had an impact with the helmet on, it's time to find a new helmet. Because of this, I never recommend purchasing used helmets either. You really don't know what that helmet's been through and what kind of abuse it's taken, and that liner may be compromised in the process. Another cool thing that a lot of riders don't know about is you can look on the sticker on the inside of the helmet, and it's usually under the liner somewhere. You'll find a sticker that's got a date when that helmet was created on. Because these helmets have a shelf life, that's something you'll want to be aware of. So if you go to a local dealer and they've got some helmets marked down 70%, you may want to look at that sticker and see how long that helmet's been sitting on the shelf. Remember, we've got about a 5-year shelf life for these helmets. So if you've got a helmet that's been sitting around for 7 years and the dealer's now discounted it, trying to get rid of it, may not be something you want to put on your head and wear while you're out on the road. So I realize this video has just kind of scratched the surface of everything you can learn and research about helmet design and crash test studies. So I'll put a lot of links down in the bottom where you can look at some various crash test studies if you want, and different standardized methods for testing helmets, and you can research to your heart's content. But for me, I simplify it. I'm looking for a name brand helmet. I'm looking for one that fits me correctly. I'm looking for one at a price I can afford with the features that I'm looking for. But the two most important things to me are a name brand so that I know it's going to offer a good level of protection, and just as importantly is fit. Because if you've got a helmet that is not designed to fit your head shape, it's more likely to come off in an accident, and it's going to leave gaps or spaces in there that's going to give you less level of protection if you have an impact. But probably the most important point in all of this is no matter how good a helmet you've got, it is never going to protect you if it's sitting back home in the garage. Wearing a helmet on a daily basis every time you get on a motorcycle has to be a habit if you want the ultimate protection. Now, I'm going to support any rider's right to make their own decision, and I'll support your right to make a bad decision if that's what you want to do. But at the same time, I'm going to give you the facts and the figures, and I'll tell you what I think along the way. But ultimately, it's up to you to make your decision on the level of protection. But as we learned early in this video, simply wearing a helmet can reduce the risk of you dying in an accident by 37% and reduce the risk of you having a serious brain injury by 67%. That alone is something to think about. So until next week, guys, this is Kevin with MCrider, and we'll see you on the road.